There it goes.
All right. Happy New Year and welcome back to the first show of the year, Real Adult Wisdom. I'm excited today to start our show off with two amazing people. Of course, my co host, Solari, and then we have Dr. Lee joining us today
Hello.
from Georgia. And I'll be excited I'm going to actually introduce you in a lot of ways here because you have a lot of accomplishments, which is super exciting and super proud of you actually to even
Thank you.
be on here with us. So, this episode of Real Adult Wisdom, we're going to talk to Dr. Lee today, and she has carried many titles: CEO of Concrete Build Financing, CEO of Vocational School. Which are you still doing that? Which we'll talk to
Okay.
more.
I transferred over. Well, it started off as a vocational school, added
Okay.
to it an agency, and now I'm just focused on the agency.
Okay. Okay. And then 20 plus years experience in healthcare. Kudos to you on that one. And 10 plus years as an adjunct professor, a
Mhm.
former Republican candidate for the state Senate, District 17, Georgia. And then also an author, yay. And a first generation immigrant to the US. I'll be excited to hear a little more about that as well.
Yes.
Um, and today, super excited for you on this, as a candidate for Georgia Superintendent of Schools. And of course, with my education background, I love to see this. And I love to see it as a woman. But this conversation is not exactly about titles, it's about transformation. And Dr. Lee shares what it really takes to navigate career pivots, embrace leadership, and redefine success when the stakes are high and the spotlight is real, because you're definitely on a spotlight now.
Right.
And together we're going to explore how confidence is built through this action and resilience and the courage to evolve professionally and personally. So if you've ever questioned whether you are allowed to pivot, lead, or try again, this episode's for you. Welcome, Dr. Lee. We are so happy to have you join our show today.
Thank you for having me.
Well, I am going to start with some questions, which those
Sure.
will lead to you just, talk away, talk away. Um, but I want to start out before I really get into the nitty gritty of things. Like, people see your accomplishments. Like, I saw your list of accomplishments. I'm like, oh, wow, I have this amazing woman coming on the show. This is awesome. Like, woman power here. But I know confidence wasn't exactly handed to you. When did you first realize that you had this confidence to build and you were going to go out and be this like amazing, strong woman?
Oh gosh, that's a good question. I've always been a little spunky throughout my throughout my childhood, and I was one of those children with lots of energy, and so I've always had that. Yeah, I believe that God's given me, a heart of advocacy. So I'm always looking out for the little guy. And anytime I see, injustice or something that is not right, or there's a gap somewhere, I want to fix it. So that's just, my type A personality, I believe,
Mhm.
for sure. I would say that when I was in high school, I was the head of the president of the French club. And just I became the president, I think, my sophomore year, and just like the platform that gave me, and just realized that I had really good leadership skills, and I kind of transferred that, into my college career. I started off in nursing school, and realized very quickly that nurses don't really have a lot of agency in hospitals.
Yeah.
Doctors have most of it, and I thought, oh, this
Right.
is not a career for me, especially with my leadership skills. So I changed
Mhm.
my major to healthcare administration, and was the best decision I ever made. Got my bachelor's, master's, and doctorate in healthcare administration, so it allowed me to be in positions of leadership where I was able to really flourish. So I don't know.
And
That's
I'm
that's
sure
a big
help a lot of people. No, that's
correct.
great. And I know one of the positions, and I watched some of your um, past talks, and one thing that caught my eye was the trade schools. So I do want to talk because this is probably something hopefully it's something that's going to be strong in your candidacy, right?
Yes. Mhm.
So
Got it.
I remember when these were removed. I was pretty early actually in my career, and I'm in year 28,
Mhm.
and I know we are starting to feel the ripple effect of them being removed. And they weren't removed because of students failing; they were removed because of economics, politics, and perception of whoever was in
Yes.
office at that time.
Yes.
And the college only narrative took over.
Mm.
And I remember this whole thing being pushed. I taught eighth grade English at this time, and it was all like college degree equals intelligent equals worth equals security. Well, now it's
Mhm.
kind of like college degree just equals debt, you know?
Exactly. Yeah.
Mhm. Mhm.
And so, yeah. And I remember the guidance counselors they were like evaluated on how many kids they actually got into college. So I remember
Mhm.
they had like a statistic rate kind of held accountable to how many kids that they got into colleges.
Right.
So I'm just kind of yeah, I'm just going to let you run with this cuz my son is a trade school son. Like he wants
Got
to
it.
be a mechanic and I'm
Good
like,
for
"All
him.
right." But now he has to go to a community college.
Mm. Okay. Well, so I mentioned my high school years and the summer between my freshman, my junior and senior year, I obtained a trade in the healthcare field because I knew I wanted to go into healthcare. I loved the hospitals, right? And that was really one of the best decisions that I made, even though I was college bound. I was heading to college. I wanted a way to pay my way through college, right?
Mhm.
And so I thought this would be the best way to do it. Get a trade certificate in healthcare, and there's lots of certifications that you can get in healthcare, by the way. And that allowed me, as soon as I finished my bachelor's, to get a really good paying job because they viewed that position that I had sort of as an apprenticeship, if you will, right? So I got to get experience in the field that I was getting my degree in. So that is one of the reasons I believe that we should have trade certifications for every student. So it shouldn't be limited to just those that are not going to college. It should be for everyone because college bound students are going to get the benefit of it as far as experience. And also, if they decide, say you're going to be a lawyer and you decide to say to get a paralegal certification, and halfway through, working through college, you realize this industry is not for me, right? A
Mhm.
lot of lawyers find out way too late that they are not cut out for the legal
Mhm.
industry, but this is after debt and all that time wasted, right?
Mhm.
So it really is a benefit to college bound students to get a trade certification. And obviously for those that are not college bound, who do not want to get all that debt or just really want to start working right out of high school,
Mhm.
this gives them the opportunity to be workforce ready right out of high school and contributing members and of society. So here's the thing. Yes, there are the blue collar trades, the
Mhm.
welders, the mechanics, the electricians, plumbers, all of those are great and they're good paying jobs, right?
Mhm.
Six figures oftentimes. But there's all the certifications also for in the healthcare field that I think we need to push more. Uh, Also in the tech field, all these certifications that you can get for coding and Google certificates and all of that gives you a
Mhm.
really good paying job without having the need to get all of that debt.
That is so right. I'd like to jump in here, actually, Dr. Lee, and I really appreciate your perspective on this because for me, for the longest time, so when I graduated high school, I got accepted to Houston Baptist University and I was going to go there. It's a very prestigious private school. But then life took its course and I found myself out in California and I went to medical assisting school, right? Santa Barbara Business College, got a medical assisting certificate, got into work right away. And then from there was able to get into financial services, hospital business office, kind of more that background. I
Mhm.
know you know what I'm talking about.
Yes.
And then from there, customer experience management, right? And kind of got my way up and through the door that way. And I used to look back on that degree and kind of hold some shame around it. Like, oh, I just have an associate's, I never got any
Mm,
further. But to be quite honest, it took me quite far. I think it is up to the person and their drive
correct.
and kind of where they want to take things. Um, but then I took a turn and I started getting into entrepreneurship. And I'm really curious about your stance on the education for entrepreneurs and taking that approach, because I come from a family of entrepreneurs. My dad's always had his own businesses. And then I walked away from my corporate healthcare mental health work about a year and a half ago to start this business, which is my spiritual work and guidance, mentorship, things like this. I mentor other elites and executives and things like that. And I think that I feel like, it's not being pushed enough, the type of support for people who want to just go ahead and start their own businesses. And I think that I would love to get your opinion on that and how trade schools and other certifications can kind of help support entrepreneurship as well as alternative ways of learning, like homeschooling and unschooling.
Definitely. So that was a lot of different questions, Solari. So I'm gonna,
Sure. Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
gonna so I am a big believer that we should be teaching business education from high school, right? We're
Yes.
graduating
Yes.
students out of high school that can't even balance a checkbook, let
Checkbook.
alone, know the
Yeah.
difference what a P&L looks like and a balance sheet and all of that. So we really should be teaching that in high school, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
And it will benefit anyone that any industry really. So if you want to be a plumber, you could have your own plumbing business, right?
Exactly.
If you
Yeah.
learn a little bit of the business side of that. So I'm a serial entrepreneur. So yes, you guys saw that
Uh,
I have the concrete veil financing, and prior to that, the trade school, and now the
mhm.
agency. So I am a serial entrepreneur, and I've given the bug to my children as well. So they're
Good.
also my eldest, who I homeschooled. He has his own marketing business, and so it's just all in the blood.
Yeah.
But definitely, I think if I had more training and if we gave more training to students in high school on business creation, and what
Hmm.
it takes to manage a business, I think
Hmm.
we would all benefit because most small companies are the lifeblood, right? Small
Right.
businesses are the lifeblood of America. They employ
Mhm.
more people, so definitely we need to encourage uh, those those skill sets. Now, the question about homeschooling, uh, I definitely think that my eldest became entrepreneur because I homeschooled him. He has a different, you know, an independent way of thinking because of that. He was homeschooled through fifth grade, and so business owners, we are a different breed altogether.
That's for
Mhm.
sure. Yeah.
And so I definitely think that that needs to be encouraged more.
Yeah, beautiful. I love that. I appreciate someone championing that because I just took my son out of school last Thanksgiving break, and he's 9 years old, right? So, and it's been a real journey, and I've questioned myself a lot. But another thing that I'm finding, and doctor, if you can reflect this back to me, if it's what you're finding, I feel like homeschooling is growing so much. I know that the state homeschool group, Texas Homeschoolers on Facebook, every time I see a post in there, it's another parent saying, I want to take my kid out. How do I do it? Okay, I withdrew my kid. How do I get started? I'm scared, right?
Right.
So I think a lot of us parents now, we have a lot of fear behind doing that type of thing. And so I'm just wondering what message you have for that as a homeschool mom yourself.
Well, in my case, my son, I honestly I had zero desire to be a homeschool mom. So I wasn't one of those who was like, I want to homeschool all my kids. I had a career,
Mm-hmm.
before I started homeschooling. My son was on the spectrum, or is on the spectrum,
Hmm.
very, very smart academically, but
Hmm.
developmentally, socially, not so much. And
Yeah.
so for me, I knew that homeschooling was the best option for him. So he could go as far and as fast as he needed to go, in his academics. By kindergarten, he was reading at the second grade level and doing math at the second grade level. And so I
Right.
wanted him to just not feel constrained uh,
Hmm.
to go as far and as fast as he wanted to go, but also to just develop socially in a at his pace.
Yeah.
And so I was very blessed. Here in Georgia, we have a lot of homeschool co-ops. And so he was a member of the music co-op where he was in band and took piano lessons, and he did a lot of sports and things like that. So he was involved in like 3 or 4 different sports at a time. And so
Mhm.
he was, he had a lot of that socialization going on for him as well. So I would encourage any parent that's looking to homeschool to make sure that they have a well-rounded education for their kids, right? Make sure that
Mhm.
they're getting some art, some art, getting some, definitely the sports in there. And if you're not a strong person in any particular topic, joining a homeschool co-op for that, because there's were individuals that have a background in science or are teaching in the science classes, and same with math. And so I was very blessed that we had all of those support systems for sure.
Yeah.
As far as curriculum, there's a myriad of curriculum out there to choose from for homeschoolers. I went with a Becca initially, and then I transferred over to the virtual education later on,
Mhm.
which
Mhm.
gave a little bit more structure to his education. But
Yeah.
there's lots of things to choose from for sure.
Nice.
No, and I like that there's that option. I've seen more and more parents actually pulling kids, probably more so due to anxiety because of these standardized tests. And, when we talk about trade school, homeschool, being at school, the
Mhm.
testing, they want to tell the kids, like, oh, we're going to teach problem solving and physical intelligence and uh, real world messiness, but that's all trade school stuff as
Correct.
well. That's all the techniques in trade school. And the real world, when you are teaching in an inner city school and you have questions on that test that those kids cannot even come close to identifying because they've never been out of that city, it's disheartening, like even to the teachers, because it's one right answer, it's one pace, it's
Mhm.
one measure, and that's it.
Mhm.
And there's no consideration, whether you're testing a kid. Now I'm in the mountains, right? So my kids have a whole different life and
Okay.
experience than if I drive 7 hours back to Columbus, Ohio, where my inner city kids, whole different night and day culture
Mhm.
and experience. I mean, my kids here would not last a day, you know.
Um,
And it's so sad because then they all get the same test.
mhm.
I
And
think it's also a disservice to the children because oftentimes you're taking time out from teaching them just to
mm-hmm.
teach them how to pass a test. So rather than
Mhm.
real learning, they're just learning
Mm.
how to pass a test. From here in
Yep.
Georgia, it's from like February all the way till the end of
Oh
April.
yeah.
And
And
it's
you're following data. You're
correct.
not humans. And it's taken away. So I've watched it, and I'm sure you have as well in your career, but you just watch the problem solving and the critical thinking, or
Plummet.
even picking up a pencil and being able to write. Now we just hand the kids, like, here you go, here's a computer, but we don't even give them computer skills anymore. It's just like, here you go, good luck writing that essay for your state test, even though you're sitting here pecking at the keyboard. Like, I wouldn't remember my second sentence. I'd still be on my first like word. I don't know. It's just
Right.
it's a crazy atmosphere. So I really love that you're pushing some of these fundamentals that need to come back, because I think we're seriously starting to see a repercussion of everything going on. And now with graduation, we're seeing a low college enrollments right now because of money. And now where are these people turning to? Jobs that
Mhm.
they can't even afford rent.
Exactly.
Mhm.
Right.
Mhm.
Right. Well, you mentioned, you touched on a few things there, but back to basics is, I really like that, especially when it comes to literacy, right?
Mm.
We moved away from teaching phonics, right,
Mhm.
in a lot of educational systems, and we're seeing the repercussions of that. And I would like
Mhm.
to go back to basics,
Yes.
back to teaching
The
just
whole language is like, whoa.
right, back to teaching what worked, And so you're right, going back to spending more time with kids in the classroom and getting that critical thinking and essay writing in cursive, back to basics.
Mhm.
It,
Yeah.
it really, all of the things that we followed, these fads that we followed, all it did was enriched curriculum companies and enriched textbook companies,
Mhm.
and our children really are the ones that suffered in the process.
Mhm. Yeah,
Mhm.
speaking of cursive writing, when I took my son to get his driver's license, he's like, "How do I sign this?"
Oh my
I'm
God.
like, "You don't know how to write your name in cursive?" Like, I failed as a mom because I did
Oh.
not know that my son could not write in cursive.
Oh.
Well, my
So,
oldest, when I homeschooled him, all he did was write in cursive. And so when he went to school in the fifth grade, he actually had to learn how to write in print.
oh,
He didn't know how to write in print at all. But I think actually cursive writing is good for the neurons in the brain. It actually
Mhm.
helps
yes.
them. So we need to just go back to basics. Kids can handle it. They'll be all right.
Actually,
Yeah.
I think they would handle it really well.
Mhm.
Um, I'm trying to look at I had all these questions for you and I'm like, ah. The trade school thing was huge for me, but
Yes.
I guess my main question, because you're running for a pretty big position, um, which is actually, if I was in Georgia, I'd be, right there. Um, what made you like just jump into the superintendent race?
Mhm.
Because that's not an easy feat.
Right. It isn't. For starters, I've always been, as I mentioned, advocacy driven, right? And so if I see
Mhm.
something broken, I feel like I need to fix it. So let me give you a little bit of a background as to what got me into my vocational school, and then a little bit about why I feel like I'm the best person to run for this position. So when I was a director at the Grady Health System, which is a large public
Oh.
health hospital, one of my programs in my department was interpreting services. However, I could not find a school that could train them. So I had all these bilingual individuals that needed
Mhm.
to be trained and
Mm.
qualified, and I could not find any schools in the state of Georgia to do so. In Atlanta, there were some, further up north, but none in Atlanta where we needed them. And so I realized that there was a gap, right? There was a gap in, we needed qualified interpreters, but we had no training program. So I started my
Mhm.
own, and I was already trained because I was working as an adjunct professor for DeVry, and they trained us on curriculum development.
Mhm.
So I was already trained on curriculum development as a professor, and so I made my program a college level, program in rigor. And fast forward 20 years later, I have seen countless of individuals just earn so much pride and purpose in going through that program and obtaining their certificate as medical interpreters. And as I mentioned, I transitioned over to just focusing on the agency because so many of them ended up getting work with me. They asked me eventually to start my own agency, so I started my own agency, providing the services to clinics and state governments that need interpreting services. And now I just focus primarily on that. But really, my experience with that, taught me how important, right, it is to be able to feel the need, right?
Mhm.
If you see a need,
Mhm.
be the person, be the person that feels that need. So I believe very strongly in that. And so one of the things that I like to, in addition to championing vocational school completion, right, statewide, I'd also like to champion school choice. And I know we talked a little bit about that
Mm.
before the call started. Uh, but this is a very personal thing for me. The fact that I was able to do that with my oldest, uh, was a game changer for him, right? Having the ability to leave my job and to homeschool him was a sacrifice for our family, but it was very much needed. And I,
Mhm.
I want to be able to encourage other families who are in the same find themselves in the same predicament where they're making decisions. These are financial decisions oftentimes, but
Mhm.
they
Mhm.
are trying to do the best for their children, giving them an opportunity to be in a learning environment that best suits them, right? And you only have a short period of time with your children to
Mhm.
do so. And so I want to be able to give vouchers to families, whether it's to homeschool or a private school or even a charter school. I know we talked about that earlier, but those are all part of the the school choice
Mhm.
initiative that I have, is to be able to provide them with a voucher to be able to take their child to the learning environment that best suits that child. And I'll tell you, I my husband and I adopted a little girl from Puerto Rico, and she came to us when she was 8 years old. And she was, not only did she have a language barrier, she knew absolutely no English, but she also had a learning disability. And so after a few months in the public school system, we recognized that that was not a good solution for her. And so we
Mhm.
took her out and put her in a Montessori style
Mhm.
school. And that was the best thing that could happen for her, because she actually started to thrive. You know how
Mhm.
Montessoris are very much hands-on. They go at the pace of that child, so she was able to learn how to learn. And I like for us to have public Montessoris here in the state of Georgia. So very similar to how they have them in Minnesota and in South Carolina, even they have public
Mhm.
Montessori schools. So there's a lot of needs that need to happen, right?
Mhm.
A lot of gaps here in the state of Georgia. We rank 38 out of 50, which is not very good statistics under the
Mhm.
current superintendent. We have actually declined. He's been in office 11 years, going on 12. And
Mhm.
70% of our fourth graders are not proficient in reading, and that's a decline under Woods. And
Mhm.
76% of our eighth graders are not proficient in math, and that's a
Mhm.
decline under Richard Woods.
Mhm.
So I tell
Mhm.
everyone, let's stop going backwards and stop going backwards. So it's time for us to go forward, move forward, and we need new energy. We need people with passion, and I believe
Mhm.
I'm that person.
Yes. And I gotta say, I mean, the numbers speak for themselves, right? As
Correct.
a reasonable, as a mother who has a small child who's going through the education system. I also want to touch on a little bit. I feel like, because we talked about your child being on the spectrum, my child has dyslexia.
Mhm.
So, and I like to call it a learning difference, not a
Right.
learning disability.
Disability. Exactly.
I feel like it's a difference. And I'm also feeling that the education field, like the type of education we have that's provided, I love how you listed the different types and how each are important to you and why, needs to be as diverse as our children are neurodivergent. Because
Mhm.
Exactly.
I've been reading a lot of research lately that it's more common for kids and adults, even now, it's just a lot of us haven't gotten tested, to be neurodivergent versus neurotypical. So,
Right.
what works for the neurotypical person is not going to work for this growing population of neurodivergence. So, I'm just curious about your thoughts on that.
Exactly. We have options in everything, right? When you go to the grocery store and you want peanut butter, there's the creamy peanut butter, there's the chunky peanut butter, there's the organic peanut butter. But
Right.
yet, when you are looking for a school for your child, oftentimes you have just one choice, and I
Mhm.
don't, I don't believe that's fair. And that's at the best case scenario, and in some
Mhm.
cases, it's actually detrimental. So
Mhm.
we really need to give parents options. Everyone knows that an engaged parent leads to successful outcomes, but yet parents aren't given any options. So that how are they supposed to get engaged? So is it the chicken? Is an argument of which one came first, right? I
Right.
believe that if you give parents options, you will then have better outcomes. And not every child is going to leave the school system. Obviously, there's lots of neurotypicals, right, that do just
Right.
fine in a typical school setting, but you have lots of children that need different school environments for them to thrive. And we need to give parents the options and the tools to be able to do that.
And I
Definitely.
think we need to add educators in there as well,
Correct.
because I believe even as educators, we do go to school to become a teacher, but then we're also thrown into the programmed system. But
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
some of us might be hands-on educators, which would
Exactly.
fit into those different types of schools. But it
Yeah.
would be nice if there wasn't a um, discrepancy with the pay. So a
Exactly.
lot of teachers, unfortunately, will go and stay in a public school because if they go to a charter school, they're not even going to make rent.
Mm.
And I think that's kind of where, we don't really look at educators like we used to. I know,
Mhm.
when I started my career 28 years ago, I was amazing. I was a hero. And especially during COVID, good God, I was like amazing.
Mhm.
Um, and then all that passed. And now it's like, I don't know, it's somewhat a career now,
Mm.
you know,
Right.
and we're trying to recruit in this dying field. I think if there was choice like what you're talking about, that would
Mhm.
be more, like shopping for Jif versus, the organic peanut butter, then teachers can also go and shop at schools. But you do feel like you get stuck in a public system. And I
Mhm.
know working parents, working families feel the same way with their kids because they can just get on the bus and go to school. They'll take care of them all day and then they come home and they, whatever. And I guess from your experience, where do you feel like education has unintentionally failed both students and educators? Because I know we're talking about the students a lot here, but it takes the educators to run this whole thing.
Mhm.
And I guess I've taught in two states now, Ohio and North Carolina. And I can tell you I was treated way differently in Ohio. I was more supported. My
Mm.
pay was important. Your degrees were important. You got paid for your degrees. I have 2 master's degrees. I got paid for both of those degrees. I come to the Carolinas. I think we're like 48th or something, and which is astonishing to me because I look at the people I work with and they're absolutely amazing. They're
Mm.
amazing teachers.
Mhm.
And it just astonishes me on the pay difference, the curriculum difference, like what I'm not allowed to do here
Oh, wow.
that I was allowed to do in Columbus. I love Jason Reynolds, love him. And he wrote some great books that I think are great studies, but man, they're banned here.
Mm.
So
Wow.
it's like, so anyway, I just threw a lot out there because I'm just like, do, 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 do. So let me go back to my original question here, because this is what I do. I talk from your experience, just mom being in the system, now running, for the state superintendent position. Where do you believe the education system has unintentionally failed both students and educators?
I believe it's failing educators in what you mentioned, that they don't have the freedom to teach, right?
Mm.
You became a teacher because of the love of teaching, and yet you're spending half of your time filling out documents, paperwork,
Yes.
right? Or in meetings, constant meetings,
Mhm.
that's not what you went to school to do. And then, like I mentioned earlier, you're spending February through April teaching to a test. That's not fun for the students, and it's definitely not fun for the teachers, right? So yeah, I wouldn't want to be a teacher in a public school system today, in the way the way that it's currently in its current iteration. The other thing is behaviors. You have all
Oh,
the behavior issues. Every time I
Mhm.
talk to teachers, that's the number one complaint, is that they're
Mhm.
not able to manage their classes, right? We have giving them very little tools to manage their classes, and then you have a lot of parents who are not managing their children. All right.
Mhm.
One of the things that I'm on the steering committee of LifeWise, which is a program that teaches biblically based character development in the school systems. And they have a proven record of every school that they're involved in to reduce behavior issues, uh, it reduces anxiety and depression in each of the schools that they're involved in. And so I would, as superintendent, give a green light. We need more programs like this. It costs us nothing, and yet it has these really great results. And anything that we can do to support the teachers in the classrooms with classroom management, I definitely think it needs to be championed.
I agree. I watch some of these new teachers and I'm like, oh, honey, you just lost that kid for the whole year because of how you just reacted.
Oh,
And it really does. It really goes on that one reaction on how you handle a situation. Our students come in and talk way differently than what they used to. I mean,
Right,
to get told to F off or whatever is not going to be an uncommon thing.
right.
But don't take it, just be like, I think you probably could have used a different word. Let's talk about this. Instead of like, get out of my room, da 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 da. You've just lost that kid forever. But why did that kid come in the room angry? What happened this morning? What happened at home?
Right.
What is happening at home? Did they get food? Like, did their electric get turned off? I mean, there's so many things
Facing
that,
eviction, they might be homeless.
yeah,
Right.
yes. And,
very
we
true.
don't know. And I do have to say, the two districts I've worked in have been very proactive when it comes to making sure the kids' well-beings are taken care of and that there are programs in place. I'm in a great county here, Buncombe County. I can't say enough about the county I'm in for education. Right now, just if I'm going to go from Ohio to the South. And it's so sad that we have to say the North and the South with education, but
Mhm.
it's really true.
Right.
I don't know how you feel about unions, but wait, Georgia has unions, right?
We do.
Okay. So this is the first time I've been non-union, and I like unions. I'm just
Right.
gonna say it. I'm just gonna
Yeah.
say it. But anyway, so then we get to the moral compass of all of this, right? Where we have policy decisions
Mhm.
that affect the real classroom. Um,
Mhm.
and not only the policy decisions that are affecting the classroom with the tests and pushing test scores and data, um, but then you also have the policy changes that have come in for new teachers and everything that's required of them their first 2 years
Yeah.
of teaching. Like they can't even teach, and
Mhm.
that's not really a state superintendent thing. That's probably more of a federal government thing. But man, if I had to do all that over again, I'm not sure.
And one of the reasons I'm actually a supporter of this, sending the states block grants rather than having all of these regulations tethered to the federal
Hmm.
government with the DOE. I do believe that that's going to be beneficial for the states
Yes.
rather than having, because there's so many regulations and red tape that are tethered to the funding. And I think that's unfortunate. I think each state is different, and if you give them a block grant, they'll be able to carry out those funds in unique ways for their state.
Yeah, that would
Right.
Um,
be a game changer. Yeah.
yes, I do believe
Mhm.
that for sure.
I definitely agree. Okay, so I have my questions over here on my other screen. That's why I
That's
keep
fine.
looking over here because I actually was like, I want to ask these questions, but of course I'm going. We have like 2 minutes.
Got it.
I try to stay where like the listeners are actually gonna like stay on and listen the whole time because we could probably talk forever because it's what we do. So one, of course I had to do this towards the why not me because I wrote a book called The Why Not Me Concept. Um, but anyway, so many educators feel called to lead, but stop themselves before trying. So did you ever ask yourself, why not me? Which I know that you're doing right now,
Yeah.
superintendent. But what
Yeah.
helped you answer that question honestly? Like when you really looked at this position and you're like, okay, why not me? Why not?
Mhm.
Let's do it.
Mhm.
Because how many women state superintendents are there?
Well, I wouldn't be the first if I'm elected. I did do my homework, and Georgia has had two previous women
Okay.
superintendents. So,
Mhm.
I don't know if that speaks to our progressiveness or what, but I do believe that I do believe very strongly that people of integrity and character need to move into the public spaces, right? Because we are, we can complain all we want about politicians do this and school leaders do that, but unless we are willing to throw our hat in the ring, all we're doing is just blowing hot air, right?
Right.
That's my belief is if I'm willing to complain about it, I have to be willing to get in the ring and do something about it.
Mhm.
And I do believe that also that we should have term limits, right? And so more people, I truly believe, I keep saying believe a lot. Let me let me choose another word. Um, our founders wanted us to have more people, just regular old Joes, uh, and Josettes involved
Mhm.
in civil servants, right?
Mhm.
They didn't. It should not have been where it's just an elite class of politicians that's all they do, right?
Right.
All they do for work and for is to be a politician. They stay there 12, 20, 30 plus years. I truly think that we need to have term limits. And so if everyone serves 2 or 3 terms max, then there's constant rotation and there's constant new ideas,
Mhm.
new perspectives, right?
Hmm.
So look at Mississippi, for instance. It went from the bottom of the rung all the way up to the top 10. New leadership did that. And so this is an education. And so we really always need fresh ideas, fresh perspectives, new people that are maybe tethered to the old way of doing things, maybe different, you know, connections, different partnerships that need to be made. But truly, if it's not me, who else? Who else will step into the fray?
Well, I think you were meant to do this.
Thank you.
And
Yeah.
it's exciting. I'll be excited to follow your race and definitely be one of your champions behind you for sure. Um, I don't think you haven't really. I don't know. So the cost of leadership. It just seems like you're a natural leader. I think we pretty much know when we're born to lead something or share our past or where we came from
Mhm.
to help other people. And I know that's the three of us sitting here have definitely done that in our careers. And I know my past is what helped me write this book and start this thing I'm doing with the Why Not Me concept. And I know same with Solari. If we didn't go through our experiences or our background and have that fire in us, we wouldn't be sitting here right now. So I applaud you. Are you an Aries, by the way? No.
I'm not. I'm not. But here's my belief is that I wrote a book. It's called "Be the Superhero of Your Story,"
Mhm.
and
Oh.
it really speaks to the fact that every single one of us has the opportunity to write this
Mhm.
great, amazing story. Whether it's from our challenges, things that we had to overcome,
Mhm.
whether it's from, you name it, right? But those challenges, those stumbling blocks, they set us up to shine. That
Mhm.
is how I truly believe that. Every time that you have a, a a problem that's presented to you, it's really an opportunity
Mhm.
to
Yes.
to to show off your strength,
Mhm.
and it makes you stronger in the process.
Yes.
So I if you have if you're facing, all of you are leaders really in your own right, and if you're facing a challenge or a problem in your particular area, your particular domain, you need to step up. You can always level up, right?
Yep.
That's
and
right.
and it's up to you whether or not you do that. And just like superheroes, they don't become super unless they have to overcome some great challenge. Same with us. We can be the superheroes of our own story by overcoming a great challenge.
Definitely. That
I
reminds me of
love
something I
that.
like to tell my audience all the time and my clients is that a no from the universe is a yes in another timeline.
I love
So
it.
you're being
Yeah.
challenged to leap and to go and to take your wisdom and to keep moving forward. And so, yeah, it's been such a pleasure just to get to know you a bit more and how you've come to where you are. And like Becky said, it's going to be great to follow your journey.
Thank you so much.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Yes.
you'll have to come back to Real Adult Wisdom here.
please.
Yes, for sure. Like as you're getting closer.
Well, the race is in May. So if you have any Georgia listeners, please
Uh-huh.
We have a
follow me
lot.
on my website, drnovalee.com. I have my platform speech there, all my podcast appearances. My books are listed there, social media handles, all of that. But really would love to come back in May and hopefully we'll be with good news.
Oh, that'd
Yes.
be so amazing.
Yeah.
Yes. I will post your link in the description of the podcast. And as everyone knows here on Real Dot Wisdom, you can watch this live on YouTube, social media, and this will also be on Apple and Spotify. But we thank you so much for joining us today
Thanks
and
for having me.
sharing your wisdom and your outlook. And actually, I'm excited for the state of Georgia. They will
Definitely.
have a
Let's
great,
move up from 38th. That's the goal. That's the goal.
yes, you can only move up, right? Not
Correct.
backwoods.
I
Yeah.
love it. Thank you. Thank
I'm gonna get fired now. I'm just kidding.
you.
I want to thank everybody for listening to Real Adult Wisdom. Dr. Lee, it's been a huge pleasure.
Yes, thank you.
Sorry, it's always great to have you. And
Oh, of
um,
course.
everyone, thank you so
Okay.
much. You can find Dr. Lee's information in the description, and I will also have her description stuff on my social media as well. Everyone, have a great evening, and thank you for listening to Real Adult